Hi there. Today we're going to do a pulled pork barbecue. I've got a Boston butt here. It's about 6 pounds. It was on sale for $5.70, so you can't go wrong with that. And the first thing we need to do is make a rub. Just going to work with what we got around, and we got just about as much brown sugar as we got around, so that's going to be the brown sugar component. And just use the stuff that you have on hand if you have this. You don't have to get really crazy and wacky with it. But I'm going to start with the brown sugar, and then I'm going to add a little chili powder to this. Just kind of eyeball it, give it a little color. Then after the chili powder, I'm going to go in with some paprika. And I have several bottles and jars of stuff out there, and some of these are redundant, so I probably won't use all of them. Then I'm going to add a little cumin to this for that smoky flavor, but I don't like too much cumin, so we'll just do a little bit, eyeball it there. And then you got onion powder and garlic powder. Depending upon your taste for onion powder and garlic powder, you just kind of eyeball that as well. This looks either new or resealed. So I got my onion powder. I'm going to drop a bunch of that in there. That's good for now. And let's see. You're going to want some spicy flavors in there. So whatever you got in the cabinet there. Let's see. I already did the chili powder and the paprika, so let me put that off to the side. I'm going to drop a little celery seed in there just for kicks. Give it a little extra complexion there. And dry mustard, ground mustard here. Give it about maybe a teaspoon or so of that. And let's see, I found this Cajun seasoning sitting in there. I don't know what this is about, but give it a sniff. It doesn't smell bad. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and throw some of that to it as well. Now, the best thing to do is to make this on a smoker, and that's the way I'm going to start out, but I really don't have 14 hours to smoke this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it for probably about 3-4 hours, get some good smoky flavor into it. This is cayenne pepper here I'm adding right now. I'm going to take it about 3-4 hours, get a good smoke ring going on it, and I'll probably finish it either in the oven, or you could even do it in a crock pot. Now, if you don't have a smoker, this is garlic powder here, and I like a little garlic powder in there, not overwhelming. And then all that's left is salt and pepper. I used up all of my canned pepper before. Let's see. This is sea salt. I use kosher salt usually, but you know, it'll work. And then I'm just going to ground some pepper. And let's talk about smoking. If you do have a smoker, that's great, but if you're, say, an apartment dweller, or you just want to use an oven, you really don't want to get too involved in this, I would say you can use liquid smoke. There's no shame in it. I mean, we've all done things that we're not real proud of at some point in our life. But, you know, you may not have the time, the inclination, or feel like messing with all of that charcoal and hickory to smoke it. You can just do this the night before, put liquid smoke on it, let it sit overnight, at least let it sit for a good long period of time in the rub, as long as you can, as long as what's feasible. And let that rub work its way in. If you're using liquid smoke, I would go ahead and do that first on the liquid smoke. So now that you've got all your ingredients in here, I might do more pepper. So you just kind of toss it all together and mix it all up, and then you've got this rub. And once you've got this all mixed up, just take your meat, and I'm going to do that here in a second. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pause this out while I get the meat ready. I don't know, I'll probably rinse it off first and all that. And I'll be right back with you. Here's that liquid smoke I had talked about. And it's real neat the way they make this. They actually make it out of smoke. And it smells really good. So I went ahead and I dabbed a little bit on there, you know, give myself a shortcut. Like I said, there's no shame in it. It's really good, and it's a good shortcut, especially if you don't want to get involved at all in doing any of that. So we're just going to go ahead and get the rub. Just go ahead and start putting it on there. So you just apply it, rub it in with your hands as best you can. And I've started with the fat side down because eventually, for my recipe, it needs to be fat side up. So I've gone ahead and started at fat side down so that I don't have to do too much more flipping. So we just get the rub in here. The thing about this is you really should be doing it the night before. Let it sit in this rub for a good 12 hours or so and cover this with cellophane. I'm only going to let mine sit for a couple of hours. So if you have extra rub and you haven't polluted the rub, too bad. Let me just scrape off a little bit more here. You can save this rub and use it on something else as long as you don't get meat into the rub. I might have done that, so I'm not sure I'm going to do this with my rub. And once you've got a good layer of rub on it, you just let it stand and absorb that. Try and get it into all the areas that you've got along the sides and everything. And yeah, for $6, this is going to go a long, long way. Actually more than $6 because you have all these spices involved. But these were just laying around, so it's not extra money at this point. Okay, I've washed up my hands and done everything I can do. All I got to do is just cover this with cellophane, put it in the fridge for a while. Actually, I'm not even going to put it in the fridge because it's only going to be about an hour or two before I get to the smoker. And it's pretty cold as it is. I don't really want it ice cold going on the smoker. But here's the thing that I want to point out. If you do use that liquid smoke and you put this together just like this, that's done for all practical purposes. If you're not going to employ the use of a smoker and you just want to throw that in your oven, you're done. You're ready to go at any point in time, and you could just put this in your oven for a long period of time at low heat. But it's ready for either the smoker or the oven at this point. And when we come back, we'll throw this on the smoker. Okay, so I've got my charcoal pretty hot. It's no longer smelling like petroleum. You don't want to, you want to let your charcoal get pretty good and not smell like petroleum. Otherwise, that smell is going to get into your food. Another thing that I want to point out is smoking food has a tendency to dry it out. So what I've done is I've taken an expendable can, which is an old cooked ham can that I saved after taking that ham out. I'm going to set it right here, and I've got water, and I've actually put a little bit of vinegar in there because we're also going to mop this thing with vinegar from time to time so it doesn't dry out, and vinegar is a pretty good way to go. So I'm going to put this can in here. I'm going to fill it up to the top, and I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on. And at this point, we're just about ready to cook. Here's my chips right here, and they're soaking in water. They're hickory chips. You can use apple, you can use whatever you can get your hands on. And I just soaked them for about an hour so that they're good and wet, and then when I drop them on the fire, they'll put out some smoke. Drop one on there right now. And you can drop more on there as you like. So I'm going to go retrieve my pork, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I put my meat on, fat side up, and I've taken the thickest part and I've put it closest to the heat. So now I'm ready to go ahead and close this thing up. I put a handful of hickory chips that are wet on top of the charcoal right there. So I'm going to go ahead and close this lid right here so that our smoke comes through. And I'm going to choke this intake for the oxygen down to about, I like about a ½ an inch. And then from there, we've got our wet mixture right there in the expendable can, and then we just close the top. Now, very important with a smoker is don't ever choke the chimney of your smoker to the point to where it's holding the smoke in. Always have your chimney wider open than you have your intake. Okay, as you can see, I'm starting with my intake very, very slightly open. In fact, I might even close that up a little bit more. So I'm just barely getting oxygen in there, and you can see that the smoke is just rolling out the top right now. So I'm getting good and plenty of smoke. So what we're looking for here is just to smoke this. We're not going to cook it in this. There's no flame or fire or charcoal on this side of the grill. All there is that little cup, and the meat's right here, and it's pretty wet, so it's dripping, but that's okay because that evaporation will help keep it moist, and we want to keep checking this cup from time to time. You can actually finish this in the oven, or you can, if you got 14 hours and want to sit here and smoke it for 14 hours, that's fine, but I wouldn't run smoke across it more than about 3 to 4 hours in any concentration, or else the meat will get bitter. So we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so we've been smoking now for about 3.5 hours, and I think that's pretty much plenty for what I want to do. My firebox, I filled it one more time with charcoal, and now I've added one last pile of hickory in there, and I'm going to give this one last hurrah. Put a couple of half smokes on there. They're pretty much all smoked right about now, so they're pretty well done. Here's the barbecue, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it back in the glass pan that I had before that I've already washed out, and it's good and clean right now. Alright, I gave this thing one last hurrah with the last of my hickory chips. I actually have a couple more, but it's getting on where this has been in here for 4 hours, and you can really tell on the smoke if you were to pull off like a little tiny piece of the outside and taste it. You can taste the rub real good, but you can also taste the smoke. So it's going in this glass pan here. Going to get covered with aluminum foil and go in the oven at 225. Okay, my pork has been in the oven for several hours, and you can see the skin is starting to pull away. And if you look at the bone, it's about ready to come off of the bone. You can see where the skin has just kind of peeled apart up here, and you can see smoke rings here with the all the smoke that was done there. So anyway, that's one way to do it. Another way is you can finish it in a crock pot, or you could do the whole thing completely on a smoker, or you could just omit the smoker altogether and do the whole thing in the oven. And when you're done, this is what you have: delicious pulled pork barbecue, just the right flavor, just the right amount of everything. You can shred it as fine or as thick as you want to. But yeah, this is it, pulled pork barbecue, and you're gonna love it. Go ahead and make it, and you can start it on a smoker, or you can just use liquid smoke. Either way you want to go. Put the rub on there and let it cook for quite a while. If you put it in the smoker, give it about 3-4 hours of smoke, or you can finish it in the smoker if you want to. Just be careful not to over smoke it. And when you put it in your kitchen, if you finish it up in your oven, give it a good many hours, like 6 or 8 hours at 225 after the smoker. Check the internal temperature for about 185, 190, and you're good to go, and it'll pull right off the bone. Then you just mix in a little barbecue sauce with it. It's perfect. Thank you for watching my video. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.